What would the 2019 season have looked like if everybody was in equal cars? Hello, my name is Alex Does F1 Stuff and welcome to a very long awaited video, one that I've been working on for a very long time, 3-ish months. Once again, thank you to Philip, who has left a comment on a previous video a very long time ago, like I said, suggesting this idea. Is it possible to try and extract the potential of the car's advantage from a race in particular, or even across an entire season, and see what would have happened if it was a spec series? If you want to ignore this little disclaimer that I'm about to pop in about the maths behind this, then skip to the time on screen now. But if you do want to listen to just what I have to say beforehand, then sit around and I will explain all. Now, this is by no means an exact science. This is not accurate. Even this version that I am working on now and what I have in front of me and what I'm about to show you isn't particularly accurate, and it does have its flaws. However, it does an extremely good job of trying its best to average out and to make the whole season as even as possible. I've spent just over 2 months and 7 different complete algorithm versions to try and come up with this. And if people want to say that, oh, it's complete rubbish, it's complete nonsense, why I've even bothered, it's just a whole lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing it. It's allowed me to work more in depth in Excel, learn more different key aspects of Excel working and manipulating data, as well as producing an awesome video that some people might find quite insightful. So please do not take this video particularly seriously, as I can change 1 or 2 little variables within the algorithm and we have completely different results. So it's not meant to be a serious video, it is just meant to be a bit of fun and see what could have happened in the ultimate what if scenario. What if every single car was equal? And with that quick little disclaimer out of the way, I've also got to give a big thanks to Racing Statistics as well, who has provided some awesome animations for the championships. There will be a little halfway house where we stop off just after Hungary, where an animation will pop up, and then just at the end of the season, another one will pop up for both championships as well. So big thank you to them for helping me out and providing these awesome animations. Much appreciated. So without further ado, we will jump on into turning F1 2019 into a spec series, and we will begin in round number 1, Australia. And we begin our story in Australia, Albert Park, around the 5.303 kilometre long circuit in which Max Verstappen has been leading the first 10 laps, with Vettel taking over the lead at lap 15. There are 55 laps around this street circuit with a total race distance of 291.665 kilometres as Kvyat takes the lead for Toro Rosso, with Hülkenberg in P2 just taking over the lead at lap 40, with a lap record of a 1 minute 24.1 from Schumacher in 2004, with a fastest lap this year of a 1 minute 26.332 as Nico Hülkenberg claims the first victory of the Spec Series of 2019, with Lance Stroll on the podium and Sebastian Vettel in third, with Hülkenberg leading 19 laps, Verstappen, Vettel 11 each, Kvyat 10, Bottas and Stroll 2 apiece. And as we just head to the championships now, Hülkenberg and Renault have got off to an awesome start, leading the both championships, the drivers and the constructors. And leaving Melbourne, we head to round number 2, Bahrain. Bahrain sees us travel to the Bahrain International Circuit, which Sebastian Vettel opens out the first few laps, but Max Verstappen claims the lead with Charles Leclerc taking it back, Hamilton taking it, Leclerc taking it, even Kubica at one point taking the lead around the 5.412 kilometre long circuit, 55 laps once again, with a total race distance of just shy of 300 kilometres, with a lap record set in 2005 from Pedro de la Rosa, with a fastest lap this year of a 1 minute 33.411 as George Russell takes the lead at one point, but it is Lewis Hamilton who comes away with his first victory of the season and Mercedes' first victory as well, with Max Verstappen on the podium and Norris also there in P3, and George Russell, after leading a couple of laps, falls down to P9, with Charles Leclerc leading 22 laps, Russell a staggering 18 but finished P9, Vettel, Verstappen equal on 6, Hamilton 2 and Kubica just the 1. And the championships for this round look a little bit like this. Lewis Hamilton takes top spot, just 1 point in it so far to Nico Hülkenberg in P2, as Mercedes take the lead in the Constructors' Championship, 20 points clear from Ferrari, who are 1 point clear from Renault, and 1 point clear from Racing Point as well. As we head to round number 3 in China. Round 3 sees us go to the Chinese International Circuit, in which Hamilton led the first lap, but Charles Leclerc managed to get past in the opening few, but Hamilton retakes the lead once again and Max Verstappen running in P2. Around the 5.4 kilometre long circuit, 54 laps this time, one less than the previous two, 294 kilometres with a lap record of a 132.2 from Michael Schumacher in 2004, with Ricciardo and Renault taking the lead in the latter portion of the race, with a fastest lap of a 1 minute 34.7 from Sebastian Vettel, as Daniel Ricciardo crosses the line to take the Chinese Grand Prix for Renault, Renault's second victory of the season, Max Verstappen in second, once again on the podium, along with Sergio Perez P3 and Hamilton P4, with Lance Stroll all the way down in P10, with the laps led looking a bit like this: Hamilton 24, Ricciardo 18 on his way to victory, Verstappen 7 and Leclerc 5, with the championships looking something like this: Verstappen taking top spot for the first time in his career, 2 points clear from Hamilton, with Bottas in P3, with Mercedes extending their championship lead over Renault now, who are P2, with Racing Point in P3 just 10 points behind, who are joint with Red Bull, who have Ferrari 1 point behind them. And we head now to round number 4, Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan sees the return of the Baku street circuit, with the longest straight in the F1 calendar, around the 6.003 kilometre long Baku street circuit. The 49 laps, almost the smallest amount of laps we do this season, with a total race distance of 294.174 kilometres, as Max Verstappen takes the lead around lap 30, with a lap record of a 1 minute 43 dead from Charles Leclerc in 2019, as Max Verstappen crosses the line to take his first victory of the season from Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas, with the fastest lap from Sebastian Vettel in P2 claiming the bonus point, with the laps led looking a bit like this: Verstappen 26, Leclerc 12 and Bottas just 11, claiming third place. With the championships after Baku looking something like this: Verstappen extending his lead at the top of the drivers to 14 points from Hamilton, as Vettel leaps up to third, Bottas down to fourth and Perez now up to fifth, with the two Renaults with their 2 victories in 7th and 8th. Mercedes takes a convincing lead in the Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari just behind them in 3rd place. Renault and Racing Point are joint on 50 points apiece. As we head now to round number 5 in Spain. And the Spanish Grand Prix sees us return to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, around the 4.655 kilometre long testing circuit, as well as round number 5, as Max Verstappen continues his good form taking the lead, but Hamilton takes it back shortly after. The 65 lap circuit with a total race distance of just over 300 kilometres, with a lap record of 1 minute 18.183 from Bottas in 2020, as it is all hectic at the top of the field, with Sainz taking the lead, with the Alfa Romeos taking the lead at one point, as it all fizzles out near the end of the race, with Alfa Romeo taking a 1-2, with Kimi Raikkonen taking a victory from Giovinazzi from Sergio Perez once again on the podium, with the fastest lap coming from Hamilton, who finished all the way down in P17, with the total laps led looking a bit like this: 28 for Verstappen, 15 for Raikkonen, 11 for Hamilton, and a smattering of other laps for a few drivers. As we look to see what effect this has had on the championship, Verstappen maintains his lead, but it is now Raikkonen who leaps all the way up to P2 in the standings, 12 points down from the Dutchman. Hamilton still P3, with Perez P4, Vettel down to 5th, as Bottas slips all the way to 6th. Albon is now up to 9th in the Toro Rosso, as Mercedes' lead in the Constructors comes down just 7 points to Alfa Romeo, who are now P2. Racing Point are now comfortably ahead of Renault, who are joint 3rd with Red Bull. And leaving Spain, we head to round number 6, Monaco. The Monaco GP sees us return to the jewel in the crown, the shortest track on the F1 calendar, which Sebastian Vettel takes an early lead, but Carlos Sainz for McLaren takes it back, as McLaren run 1-2 for a short amount of time. The 3.337 kilometre long circuit is the shortest this season. The 76 lap track as well gives us a total race distance of 250 kilometres of racing, with a lap record of 1 minute 14.2 from Verstappen in 2018, with a fastest lap from 1 minute 14.166 from Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull, who is all the way down in P17 at the moment as Sebastian Vettel claims a victory for Ferrari. From Sergio Perez again on the podium, Mr. Consistency, as Danny Kvyat claims a podium as well for Toro Rosso. A amazing day for the Faenza team, 3rd and 4th, Mercedes in 7th and 6th, 6th and 7th, and Russell claiming some points for Williams in P8. With the laps led looking something like this: Sainz a whopping 45, but he is only P5, Vettel 15, Albon 8, and Hamilton 5. And looking at the championship, it is Sebastian Vettel who now claims a 4-point lead over Max Verstappen, who failed to score any points. Sergio Perez is P3 in the championship, now moving ahead of Hamilton, as Raikkonen slips down to 5th place. And in the Constructors' Championship, it is Racing Point, who are now P2, ahead of Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, who are ahead of Red Bull, but it is Mercedes who are the first to break the 100-point mark. And heading to round number 7 in Canada. The Canadian Grand Prix sees us return to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, as Sebastian Vettel takes an early lead for the first couple of laps as Lewis Hamilton takes it back after lap 10, with the circuit length of 4.361 kilometres, with a total laps of 67 throughout this Grand Prix, giving us a total race distance of 292.187, as Lance Stroll thrills the home crowds, taking the lead on lap 40 with a lap record of 1 minute 13.078 from Valtteri Bottas in 2019, as Danny Kvyat takes the lead for Toro Rosso as well, the first time this season, from Lewis Hamilton in 2nd, and Lance Stroll still running in the podium contentions as the race finishes. A home podium for Lance Stroll, with a fastest lap from Kimi Raikkonen, who unfortunately finishes down in P13, with the laps led looking a bit like this: 18 for Stroll, 15 for Hamilton and Kvyat, 11 for Vettel, 5 for Russell, and 3 for Verstappen. With the championship now looking something like this: Hamilton back at the top, just by 2 points from Sebastian Vettel, 4 points clear from Verstappen, with Perez now down to 4th. Kvyat bumps himself up to P5 after a victory in Canada, with Raikkonen now 6th. But in the Constructors, it is still Mercedes, with Racing Point in 2nd on 100 dead. Toro Rosso are now P3, comfortably ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari. And leaving Canada, we head to round number 8, France. The French Grand Prix sees us return to Paul Ricard, the circuit in which Lewis Hamilton leads the first opening laps, but Max Verstappen takes it back after lap number 6. The circuit with a length of 5.842 kilometres, 51 laps, and a race distance of 297 kilometres, with a lap record of a 1 minute 32.740 from Sebastian Vettel in 2019, with a fastest lap of a 1 minute 33.315 from George Russell, as Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and also Charles Leclerc are fighting for victory, but it is Kimi Raikkonen who comes away with his 2nd victory of the year, with Charles Leclerc P2 and Max Verstappen P3 and Hamilton down in 4th. Magnussen puts in an awesome effort for Haas to finish 5th, with the laps led looking a bit like this: 24 for Verstappen, 11 for Hamilton, 8 for Raikkonen, and 8 for Stroll as well. With the championships now looking something like this: Hamilton just 1 point clear from Max Verstappen, who has Kimi Raikkonen 10 points behind him, and Sebastian Vettel 3 points behind the Finn. Perez is now down to 5th, with Kvyat still 6th, ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Sainz in P8. With the Constructors' Championship still looking the same, Ferrari are the 3rd team to breach the 100-point mark, 3 points behind Racing Point, who are 26 behind championship leaders Mercedes. And jumping now to round number 9, Austria. The Austrian Grand Prix sees us return to the Red Bull Ring, the circuit in which Charles Leclerc is looking for a victory for Ferrari, but Valtteri Bottas has something to say about that as he takes the lead in the early portions of this lap, lap 14, with a circuit length of 4.318 kilometres, 66 laps of racing, giving us a total distance of 284 kilometres, with a lap record of a 1 minute 5.619 from Carlos Sainz in the year 2020, as Daniel Ricciardo takes the lead at the midway point of the Grand Prix P3 for Renault, with the fastest lap this time round coming from Daniel Ricciardo, a 1 minute 7.330, as George Russell ends up taking the lead for Williams, but Max Verstappen takes it back shortly after that and takes a victory for Red Bull. Russell gets a podium, his first of the season in P2, with Sergio Perez once again in the top 3 in 3rd position, Albon an amazing race for Toro Rosso in P4, and Charles Leclerc all the way down in 5th place. With the laps led looking something a bit like this: 14 for Russell, 13 for Leclerc, 11 for Verstappen and Ricciardo, 10 for Perez, 4 for Bottas and 3 for Albon. With the championships after round number 9 looking like this: Verstappen the first person to breach the 100-point mark on his own, 24 points clear from Lewis Hamilton, the largest point margin so far, as Perez is equal with the 6-time Formula 1 world champion Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen is P4 and Vettel P5. The two Toro Rossos are 6th and 7th, with Racing Point closing in on Mercedes at the top of the championship. There are now 6 teams above 100 points, all separated by just over 30. As we head now to round number 10. Great Britain. The British Grand Prix sees us go to Silverstone, one of the longest standing tracks on the calendar, as Valtteri Bottas takes the early lead, with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both hoping for some home success. The circuit, which has a length of 5.891 kilometres, 51 laps of racing, giving us a distance of just over 300 kilometres, with a lap record of a 1 minute 27.097 from Verstappen in 2020, with the fastest lap of a 1:27.4 from Valtteri Bottas, who finds himself down in P15 at the moment, as Williams take an emphatic 1-2 victory, as George Russell claims his first of the season and a victory on home soil. Kubica is in P2 and Raikkonen P3, Kvyat continuing Toro Rosso's strong form in 4th place, and Albon down in 7th. With the laps led looking a bit like this: 29 for race winner Russell, Bottas taking 16, Hamilton 4, Vettel and Sainz just the 1. And as we head to the championships, it is Verstappen still at the top, but Raikkonen is now P2 ahead of Hamilton, as Russell moves himself all the way up to 7th place in between the two Toro Rossos, with the Constructors' Championship closing at the top. 4 points between Racing Point and Mercedes, and then 14 points between Toro Rosso and Mercedes. And then we get to round number 11, Germany. And the German Grand Prix sees us go to the Hockenheim Ring, alternating with the Nürburgring, as the Haas duo actually take the lead in the early rounds of this Grand Prix, but Verstappen manages to claw it back, but Sainz is giving him a good run for his money as well. The circuit, with a length of 4.5 kilometres, 64 laps of racing, with a total distance of 292.7 kilometres, and a lap record of 1 minute 13.780 from Kimi Raikkonen in 2004, with a fastest lap of a 1 minute 16.559 from Max Verstappen, with the Haas duo again fighting their way back to the top of the leaderboards. But it is Williams who are going to come away with another 1-2. 2 1-2s in a row for Williams, but this time it is Kubica who takes the victory from George Russell. Romain Grosjean completes the podium for Haas, and Kevin Magnussen is an amazing P4. With the laps led looking a bit like this: 18 for Sainz, 14 for Verstappen, 10 for Magnussen, 6 for Hamilton and Kubica, 5 for Russell and Grosjean. With the championship now looking something like this: Verstappen, Raikkonen, Hamilton and Perez maintain their spots in the top 4, but Russell is now P5, ahead of Vettel, ahead of Kvyat, ahead of Sainz and Albon as well, with Williams closing in on Toro Rosso for 3rd place in the championship. And leaving the hectic German Grand Prix to go to round number 12 in Hungary. And the Hungarian Grand Prix sees us return to the Hungaroring, the race before the championship, which Max Verstappen is going to want to win, extending his championship lead, and he is doing exceptionally well, leading so far. The circuit, with a length of 4.381 kilometres, total laps of 67, and a race distance of 293 kilometres, with a lap record of a 1 minute 17.1 from Verstappen in the year 2019, as Magnussen takes the lead in the early portions of the race, with Verstappen claiming it back after lap 40, with Perez running in P2. With the fastest lap this year coming from Lewis Hamilton with a 1 minute 18.524, but it is going to be Max Verstappen fighting with Sergio Perez for the victory. As we cross the line, it is actually Kimi Raikkonen who just by 0.04 of a second comes away with a victory for Alfa Romeo from Max Verstappen P2 and Sergio Perez P3. With the laps led looking a bit like this, Verstappen claiming 51 laps just to finish P2, Hamilton 7, Hülkenberg 4, Magnussen 3, Perez 1, and crucially Raikkonen only leading 1 lap, the last lap of the race, with the championships going into the summer break looking something like this. Verstappen enjoying a 6-point lead with 27 points between him and the Mexican Sergio Perez, Hamilton P4 with Russell just behind him, as Racing Point take the lead in the Constructors' Championship going into the summer break. And as it is the summer break, I will pop on over to racing statistics for the animations for the championships so far. Welcome back, and we will jump straight back in to the racing. Round number 13 in Belgium. We go to the legendary Spa circuit, which Charles Leclerc is leading the opening laps, but it is once again the Haas who fight their way to the front of the field, with Toro Rosso's battling them as well. The circuit just over 7 kilometers long, just 43 laps of racing, but 301 kilometers total distance, with a lap record of a 1 minute 46.2 from Valtteri Bottas in 2018, with the fastest lap of a 1 minute 45 from this Grand Prix from Kimi Raikkonen, who unfortunately finishes down in P14, but it is Danny Kvyat who kicks off the second portion of the season extremely well for Toro Rosso with a victory, Russell P2 and Hamilton P3, with Perez again doing a stellar performance in P4, with the laps led looking a bit like this: 18 for Kvyat, the race winner, 15 for Grosjean and 6 for Russell. With the championships now looking like this, it is all closing up in the top, with 5 drivers just over 100 points, all separated by just 30. It is Kvyat in P6 though, just close behind Russell, as Toro Rosso take the lead in the Constructors' Championship, 1 point ahead of Mercedes, 2 points ahead of Racing Point and 16 points ahead of Williams. As we leave Spa and head to round number 14, Italy. The Italian Grand Prix sees us return to the Temple of Speed, Monza, Ferrari's home ground and Alfa Romeo's home ground as well. The circuit with a length of 5.7 kilometers, a total number of laps of 51, with a race distance of 295.443 kilometers, with Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault doing exceptionally well, leading in the latter half of this race, with the lap record of a 121.0 from Barrichello in 2004, with a fastest lap of 121.7 coming from Lewis Hamilton, but Daniel Ricciardo comes away with the victory for Renault, with Charles Leclerc for Ferrari in P2 and Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo in P3, a stellar performance for the home crowd, with Russell in P4 ahead of Bottas in P5, with the number of laps led looking a bit like this: 30 for the race winner Ricciardo, 19 for Leclerc and 2 for Bottas, with the championships oh so very close at the top now. It is just covered by 18 points. The top 5, that is. The top 5 are covered by 18 points. Danny Kvyat is still P6, and Mercedes retake the top of the Constructors' Championship, 3 points from Toro Rosso and 9 points clear from Racing Point. As we leave Italy and Monza and head to Singapore. The Singapore Grand Prix is one of the most grueling on the F1 calendar, with Max Verstappen wanting to score well here after not scoring so well in the past few races. The circuit has a length of just over 5 kilometres, 61 laps, giving us a total race distance of 308.843 kilometres, with a lap record set by Kevin Magnussen in 2018 of a 141.905, with the fastest lap again coming from Magnussen of a 141.443, as the two Haas cars are actually leading the Singapore Grand Prix. Grosjean at the moment, as Russell takes it back in the latter portion of the race, and he claims the victory for Williams. Romain Grosjean on the podium in second, and Robert Kubica again on the podium for Williams in P3. Giovinazzi keeping up Alfa Romeo's strong running so far in this second half of the season in fourth, and Norris in fifth. With the laps led looking something a bit like this: 30 for Magnussen, 16 for Giovinazzi, and 7 for Russell, with the championship taking a massive turn. Russell takes the lead for the first ever time, 7 points clear from Verstappen and 13 points clear from Raikkonen, as Williams take the lead in the Constructors' Championship for the first time since the late 90s. Toro Rosso are in P2 and Mercedes have slipped down to third place. As we leave Singapore and head to round number 16 in Russia. And the Russian Grand Prix sees us return to Sochi, the street circuit that was built specifically for racing, in which Charles Leclerc is leading in the first opening laps, with a total circuit length of 5.848 kilometres, 53 laps, giving us a total race distance of 309 kilometres, with a lap record set in 2019 by Lewis Hamilton of a 135.7, with a fastest lap this time round, again coming from Lewis Hamilton, a little bit quicker, a 135.661, with the McLarens and Racing Points battling it out for victory, but it is Carlos Sainz who comes away with his first win of the season, ahead of Sergio Perez once again on the podium, Norris in P3 and Stroll in P4. With the total number of laps led looking a bit like this: 25 for Sainz, 19 for Leclerc, 8 for Hamilton and 1 for Nico Hülkenberg down in P6. With the championships now looking like this: Verstappen reclaiming the lead, 3 points ahead of Russell, with Perez just 5 points off of the championship lead, with Kimi Raikkonen and Lewis Hamilton all oh so close behind, with Kvyat and Sainz just breaking in to the 100-point mark. Williams have Racing Point equal on 207 at the top of the Constructors, with Mercedes now down to fourth. And leaving Russia, we head to round number 17, Japan. The Japanese Grand Prix sees us return to Suzuka, the first figure of 8 circuit in Formula 1, which Valtteri Bottas is looking at taking a victory, leading the first opening laps. The circuit has a total length of 5.8 kilometres, with a total number of laps of 50, giving us a race distance of 290 kilometres, a lap record of a 1 minute 30.9 from Lewis Hamilton in 2019, and a fastest lap this year of a 1 minute 30.854 from Sergio Perez, who at the moment is P6 at the flag, who will claim the fastest lap bonus point, but it is Carlos Sainz who claims 2 victories in a row for McLaren, and it is a double podium for Renault in second and third. And the number of laps led look a bit like this: 22 for Bottas, 11 for Ricciardo, 9 for Stroll, 7 for race winner Sainz, and just 1 for Nico Hülkenberg, who finished on the podium in third. With the championships looking a little bit like this: Sergio Perez, for the first time this year, takes the championship lead, 1 point clear from George Russell, and just 4 points clear from Max Verstappen, with Kimi Raikkonen slipping a little bit further back, but Carlos Sainz is firmly in that hunt, with 2 victories in a row and the momentum in his favour. Racing Point are now 7 points clear from Williams, with McLaren getting ahead of Mercedes in the championship in P4. And leaving Japan, we head to round 18, Mexico. And the Mexican Grand Prix sees us return to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, with Carlos Sainz taking the early lead in the first few laps, maintaining his momentum of his 2 victories in a row. The circuit has a length of 4.3 kilometres, a total laps of 69, with a race distance of 296.976 kilometres, with a lap record of a 118.7 from Valtteri Bottas in 2018. But it is the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo who is leading the latter half of this race, but it is Mercedes who take it back with Lewis Hamilton leading at the moment, with the fastest lap set by Robert Kubica of a 1:18.819, and it is Daniel Ricciardo who comes away with another victory for Renault, Hamilton in P2 taking a podium after a few bad races, and Sergio Perez also on the podium in P3. With the laps led for the Mexican Grand Prix looking something like this: 27 for Hamilton, who ended in P2, 16 for race winner Ricciardo, 9 for Sainz and Vettel, 5 for Leclerc, and 3 for Bottas. With the championships looking a little bit like this: Sergio Perez stretching his legs at the top, just 10 points clear from Russell now, 19 from Verstappen, and Hamilton in P4. But do not discount any of them, they are still in the championship hunt. There are still 3 rounds to go. Racing Point are now 16 points clear of Williams in second, and Mercedes have crept back up to third place. As we head now to round number 19 in the United States. And the US Grand Prix sees us return to the circuit of the Americas, in which Bottas is once again leading the early stages of this race at lap 10, with a total circuit length of 5.5 kilometers, 54 laps, giving us a race distance of 297 kilometers, with a lap record of a 1:36.169 from Charles Leclerc in 2019, as Kimi Raikkonen starts leading in the second half of this race, but Sergio Perez claws it back just in the nick of time, with a fastest lap of a 1:36.1 from Charles Leclerc, as Sergio Perez claims his first victory of the season. He has had no victories so far, and he is still leading the Drivers' Championship, and he takes his opening win from Max Verstappen in P2 and Kimi Raikkonen in P3, with Daniel Ricciardo P4 for Renault and Grosjean 5th for Haas. With the laps led looking something like this: 16 for Perez, 13 for Bottas, 10 for Verstappen, 7 each for Ricciardo and Raikkonen, and 1 for Grosjean. With the championship spreading out a little bit, 26 points is the gap to Sergio Perez from Max Verstappen, with George Russell slipping down to P3 and Raikkonen up to 4th, with Racing Point again extending their lead to Mercedes now, up to second, just 34 points in it. As we head to the penultimate round, Brazil. And we return to the Sao Paulo circuit in Brazil, which Max Verstappen needs to score some decent points over Sergio Perez, and he is doing well so far, leading the opening portions of this race, with a circuit length of 4.3 kilometers, 69 laps overall, giving us a race distance of 297 kilometers. A lap record of a 1:10.5 from Valtteri Bottas in 2018, with the fastest lap of a 1:10.8 from Max Verstappen this year, as Pierre Gasly in his outing for Toro Rosso takes the lead in the latter portions of this race, but Hamilton claims it back from George Russell as well. With the Haas cars up there, it is all manic at the front, as George Russell comes away with another victory for Williams, with the 2 Haas cars on the podium and Sergio Perez in P4. With the laps led looking a bit like this: 25 for Hamilton, 16 for Russell, 13 for Verstappen, 6 for Grosjean, 5 for Gasly, 3 for Sainz, and 1 for Norris. With the championship heading into the final round looking very comfortable for Sergio Perez, a 22-point lead from George Russell, with Max Verstappen in third, officially out of the championship race. All Sergio Perez needs to do to become the champion is just finish P9 or above, and it is his. Racing Point are also on their way to a double, leading the Constructors' Championship from Williams in P2 and Mercedes in third. As we head now to the last round in Abu Dhabi. The last round sees us go to the Yas Marina circuit, a night race to end the season off. Lewis Hamilton is leading in the early portions of this race for Mercedes, with a total circuit length of 5.5 kilometers, 54 laps, and a race distance of 294.3 kilometers, a lap record of a 1:39 set by Lewis Hamilton in 2019, and a fastest lap of a 1:39 from George Russell, who needs to outscore Sergio Perez. George Russell needs this victory, but it is going to be Kimi Raikkonen who comes away with the race win, ahead of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez on the podium, capping off a championship winning year. With the laps led looking a bit like this: Hamilton 23, Raikkonen 13, Perez 12, Kvyat 3, and Verstappen 2. But the championships are all done and dusted. Sergio Perez is the champion of this 2019 standardised Spec series. George Russell is P2, Verstappen is 3rd, Raikkonen is 4th and Hamilton 5th. Racing Point are also the Constructors' champions, completing the double as well. Williams are P2 ahead of Mercedes in 3rd. And handing back over to Racing Statistics to end the championship animations off. And there we have it, the end of the 2019 Spec series. Honestly, this was so much fun to make, so much fun to record, and also it's going to be so much fun to edit when I get around to doing that. If you have enjoyed, please like the video as well, as this one has taken me a lot of time. If you have any suggestions for improvements for videos, video ideas as well of your own, please let me know in the comments below. And remember, please don't take this too seriously. It's not meant to offend anyone, detract from achievements or add to achievements. It's not meant to glorify anything like that. It's just trying to see what is possible with statistics. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.